A pleasure to me all at last. And today we are at the last ever leg that I'll put up for films I'm willing to talk about again. Because let's just say that with all the work that I pretty much have to do, I might as well take a step back from a good majority of different programs that I have currently running on the channel. There's at least 2 different kinds of GWK based content on here alone, that each of which I'm having a lot of episodes run, so I feel like that if I wanted to continue this whole thing going, then well, either I would have to lower the amount of episodes I upload a day, or basically just have them delayed a bit, just so I'd make room for something like this. But in any case though, 37 episodes is a lot. Although realistically speaking, this is actually the 42nd thing out there that I've done related to this series, because of course I've done 5 episodes that were pretty much bonus pieces. Bonuses that of course reflected around the fact that, well, there were newer films that I got to see as well. So in addition to films I should have talked about years ago, as well as films that I have seen and I'm willing to talk about again, I also still am running the typical usage of more modernized film reviews. So ones that are coming out here in 2022, as there are tons of them coming out here in 2022, you will definitely get to hear me talk about them a little bit more so than ever. Though 5 is probably not that big of a number, but don't worry, I will eventually have more of these down the line. So I will eventually have a second season of films I should have talked about years ago, and, well, probably shouldn't go too far away from the matter of the subject for today, because we're going to be talking about another classic out there, one that is made by Paramount, El Dorado. And for the record, no, this is not related to The Road to El Dorado from 2000. Much, much, much later than this film. Paramount has in fact made a lot of different big-time classic successes over the years, and this one, I could sure tell you, apart from the likes of most other westerns that had happened back in the day, like Old Yeller, which was a bit more like a post-Civil War feel. But in any case though, El Dorado, 1966, starring the likes of John Wayne, James Caan, Adam Rourke, Ed Asner, whom, as you probably know, had died last year, so RIP. In any case though, this one's a bit of a cult following classic, but is one that I've seen for a long time, and it's definitely unlike a lot of the which that I have been able to talk about here in recent years, or at least way back in the day. So the fact is, well, I did talk about it for a brief moment, and then that moment got deleted, because we all know what had happened to the previous Kaiji Force Neo official Twitter accounts, not to mention a good handful of other social media accounts that I had started over the years and have since basically laid to rest. And so the thing is that in this particular case, we have ourselves the likes of an old Western style shootout, a rootin' tootin' shootin' series of cowboys going all around with horses, with the belts and brittles and the boots and the spurs and the giant enormous hats and the likes, the vests, holsters, revolvers, and whatnot. It's that typical sort of stuff that does in fact relate to the likes of action, adventure, old school flick history that we've known and loved over the past several generations. Of course, when getting to know about the Wild West and how it was a huge impact on American culture between the years of 1846 to 1907, years of those sorts were the prime time for this kind of history to take place. And with this film basically giving us the sort of capture of that exact part of American history and culture, a big evolution had simply turned up all over the place. From the simple piece of history that had turned up, the age of slavery, the Civil War, which allowed the North and South parts of this country to basically stand divided. And then of course, with the famous Transcontinental Railroad establishment, being able to link together the east and the western portions, all the way over in the state of Utah. But then of course came around the time where American civilization was in fact beginning to unfold in rather unique ways. While it certainly was a lot different back then, it is simply nothing compared to the big modernization that has taken place. We could have buildings that are even taller than the clouds. We could have the likes of food that is small enough to carry in our own pockets. We could basically have anything that we could ever see. We just have to put our minds together. And humanity of all sorts may stand divided in hundreds of different possible ways nowadays. But that's only because of one very bad egg politics. If it weren't for that, this country would have been so much better. So much more resolved than ever. I mean, one could probably imagine what we would have then. El Dorado, of course, is practically no different. What it is simply put, the story of a very special event. One that you probably wouldn't be able to understand all too well, because let's just face the facts here, that we won't have everything we possibly need here. And maybe never ever again. To go into detail would be a bit too easy to work on. From going all the way over to the point where scores were settled. And the likes of Christopher George, James Caan, and John Wayne all meeting up together, having a bit of a bar fight in a saloon. And then of course with the many scenes that do involve the likes of cowboys riding on horses, throwing lassos, and having the likes of them being able to trap and shoot down all sorts of animals just to feed themselves. So, lots of things have come about since then. And now I do feel like that pretty much just covers it all. So, and talk about everything, it'd just be a bit of a cakewalk. But at the same time, would I want to rank this film? Probably 7.3 out of 10. That's just how I personally feel about it. So, some of you might feel different about this, and that's probably alright. But the thing is that, well, in this particular context, I'd simply say, have this film around at some point. If you want to watch it, that's alright. If you don't, that's also alright. But now here we are. The very end of films I'm willing to talk about again. Although, you know what? There's still a lot of other films that I actually have pretty much left behind. So, what I might actually do at some point is I probably will create a second season for this. That's right. So, a second season for films I'm willing to talk about again might in fact be in order. And as a result, well, this is basically me talking specifically about films in general. But you know what though? With another season of films I should have talked about years ago, coming soon on August 17th is when I plan on airing these for the first time. Just so I give myself a nice big window to be able to work with this kind of content. And so, me simply sitting down on a couch or on a chair or on anything at all, talking about films in general, are just pretty much what I seem to find a fair trade. To be able to give my own perspective from the comfort and safety of this own house. As a result, well, if you want to see more go down to my channel, then be sure to stay tuned. August 17th, 2022, for Films I Should Have Talked About Years Ago, Part 2. And make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.